We stand around the map and I hear them all talking, all contributing. The Kroot, who will take the charge when they hit our lines. The commander, who coordinates. The Vespid, who will provide a support, a surprise for our foes. It goes round and round the fire warriors. But the buck never stops at my feet. I wait. As everyone nods their agreement and starts to leave, I wait. The Ethereal has been looking at me for some time. I cannot read his expression, but no, he can read mine. The commander looks like he is turning to leave, but the Ethereal touches him lightly on the arm. He stops immediately. The Ethereal finally addresses me as the last of the fire caste leave. Something troubles you, Pater. I look at my hands, and then look up into his eyes and speak. Permission to speak freely. Always, Pater, always, says the Ethereal. The commander's eyes tighten slightly. I know he does not think much of me, of us. Can we do this outside? I wish to make a point, but it will be brief, I assure you. The Ethereal slowly gestures to the door, and as I begin to walk out, he follows me, the commander in tow. I open the door and step out into the beautiful dawn. The air is fresh and clear, and the sun shines down on me. The Ethereal gracefully steps out and stands before me, the commander barely containing his impatience. Speak your mind, Pater. I take in a deep breath of air and release it slowly, dramatically. The air is sweet and clean and fresh. I take another deep breath again and smile deeply as I release it with my eyes closed. I then open them and look him deep in the eye. The Imperium once ruled this world. The skies were filled with smog, and all of my forebears died drowning on liquid in their lungs. The Imperium did not care. They forced tithes on us that could never be met, could never be satisfied unless we literally dug the heart out of our world and filled its skies with smog and death, destroying every last thing of beauty on this world, my home. We were slaves. We were beaten. We were executed if we disobeyed. The words of the Imperium are still known to us. Blessed is the mind too small for doubt. They call themselves a civilization, yet there is nothing civil about this tyranny. Nothing. Ethereal looks at me with calm eyes. He knows where I am going, and I see the hint of what the Tau call a smile play on his lips. They are less expressive, so it is always a hint. But he knows where I am going, I think, and I see pride in his eyes. It emboldens me to say what I have to say. I have to. I mean no impertinence. Commander, I do not question you, but I must speak my mind, as I represent the Gevasa on this world, in our armies. The greater good. It has brought clean technologies to this world, to my people. It has saved them from drowning. It has made the skies clear. It has made the fields green. It has made the orchards grow. And it has made the oceans teem with life and fish and abundance again. I know the tank column that comes this way. It is of the Imperium. It is human. You have placed my men, my loyal men, in the rear, far from the confrontation. I know you have your doubts, both of you. But the commander more than you. But I would like you to reconsider. I speak for all of my men, women, and the entire population of this world. We are human, Gevasa. But do we not have a place in the greater good, in the Empire? If you will never allow us to be tested, how can we ever dispel the doubt? How can we prove that the greater good is every bit as important to us as it is to our brothers and sisters of the Empire? How can you allow us to sit by and watch our Fire Clan Kroot and Vespid comrades die in defense of our world, but not let us stand with them? We know the Imperium will never leave unless we fight them, unless we are allowed to die for the greater good, unless we, the humans of the Empire, can show them that we are not slaves anymore, and we do not want them here. Will you not let us have honor? Will you not allow us to take our place in the greater good? Will you not let us fight?" The ethereal looks on passively, but nods his head slowly and then bodily turns to look at the commander. He looks at him and intones. Pater speaks eloquently, ardently, and from the heart. "What say you to this?" The commander looks at him, then his shoulders seem to sag for a second, before he straightens and turns to me. "The Gevasa 125th will be deployed to the front. You will stand in reserve to reinforce the Kroot and Vespid when we close the circle and perform the Kaon." The ethereal nods, and turns to me and sees me beam at him and the commander. I salute to both formally and perfectly. "You will not regret this. We will fight the invaders with every last inch of our strength. You will not regret this." The commander nods his head, dismissing me. I walk back to my unit with pride. The men will be elated. We will get to fight the tyrants for our world. We will get to fight for the greater good. To be continued. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, and I wish to introduce you to the forces and factions of the Warhammer 40k universe. And today we are going to look very briefly at one of the newest factions and races to have joined the ongoing tragedy, that is the Grimdark, the Tau Empire. Now I would ask for patience with this entry as I am not as knowledgeable about the Tau as I am some other subjects, but also because I am awaiting some materials to arrive and thus be consumed so I can repackage them in my usual style and hope to make it engaging. I would also like it noted that this will be only part 1 of the introduction. A lot of this information can be considered to be slightly dated, but have no fear, I will present the greater good element of the psychic awakening very soon, and then be releasing a how this all changes the Tau thereafter. Then we can tie up all of the disparities and nuances. I hope you can see that I needed to do a larger entry for the Tau to make the Psychic Awakening entry make sense. Also, as this is just past our 6 months of lore, I thought I would go back to the Tau and give them more than the 6 odd minutes that was my first pure lore video. Yikes. Don't go back to the prognostications though. They really show the improvements we've made in the half year. They were needed. But that old entry on the Tau, no matter how bad, is something I would urge you to view as it is short, and also as it contains information and perspective I am not giving today. To quote, "The greater good. The uniting philosophy of the Tau race is called the greater good, which stresses communal living and cooperation, a convivial attitude to aliens, and self-sacrifice for the good of the whole. Most Tau sincerely believe that they are on a noble mission to bring peace, justice, and progress to the rest of the galaxy." When the Tau first started expanding to other systems, they thought that they were the only technologically advanced race in existence, and that it would be effortless to expand their reach throughout the rest of the galaxy. In 742 of Millennium 41, they came into contact with the Imperium of Man, which subsequently launched the so-called Damocles Crusade to conquer the upstart Tau Empire. The war lasted for 3 years, between 742 Millennium 41 and 745, before ending in stalemate. Each side agreed to a truce due to the sudden appearance of the first Tyranid invasion of the galaxy, Hive Fleet Behemoth, which threatened them both. The Imperium's forces were rapidly withdrawn from the aborted Damocles Crusade to fight in the First Tyrannic War, and in such a fast panic that many Imperial Guard regiments were abandoned inside of the Tau Empire's territory, many of whom were absorbed into the ranks of the Tau military as auxiliaries. Each side learned new lessons from the Damocles Crusade. The Imperium of Man was forced to realize that the Tau were a new major race on the galactic scene, capable of standing up to the limited resources the Imperium was able to throw at them, due to most of its armies being spread thin across the galaxy fighting Chaos, Orcs, and Tyranids. Meanwhile, the Tau had a rude awakening that the galaxy was not empty, and theirs for the taking, but mostly controlled by the Imperium of Man, which even with its attentions divided between multiple alien threats controlled vast military resources. In the 250 years between the Damocles Crusade and the 13th Black Crusade, by the forces of chaos led by Abaddon himself, the Tau have been slowly but steadily expanding their sphere of influence, retrenching in the face of powerful alien races. As a civilized technological culture, which does not inherently embrace warfare, the Tau are one of the few races that the Imperium might be considered to have diplomatic relations with on any level. Unlike other alien races, the Tau do not wish the destruction of humanity, and their reach is very short due to their limited interstellar capabilities. Though the Imperium ultimately wishes to destroy all alien races, it considers the Tau a low priority, and has occasionally agreed to suspend hostilities to deal with more pressing threats. Imperial and Tau troops have often fought side by side against the Necrons and Tyranids, as with the Eldar, and the Imperium could essentially be said to have been allies with the Tau. Thus, after many thousands of years, the Imperium of Man is slowly beginning to rediscover the concept of international diplomacy, in which the Imperium, the Eldar and the Tau would each prefer to conquer all of the others, but each also realizes that they cannot spare the resources for the full undertaking. Most commonly, it is simply a situation where, when faced with a far more belligerent common foe that cannot be reasoned with, alliances are often the best interests of both parties. Due to the Tau Empire's location in the Milky Way galaxy's eastern fringe, combined with their lack of psychers, they have had relatively little contact with the forces of chaos, which were concentrated around the Eye of Terror in the galaxy's northwest, or the Maelstrom at the center of the galaxy. The Imperium of Man has for the most part not prioritized military conflict with the Tau, which does occur but at a relatively low level. Contact with the Eldar is sporadic, and relations vary from one craft world to the next. The biggest threat to the Tau Empire come from the Orc hordes, which control vast swathes of the eastern fringe, as well as the incursion of the Tyranid hive fleets, which tend to enter the galaxy from the eastern fringe also. Thus, the Tau's two biggest military threats are alien races which possess military doctrines diametrically opposed to those of the Tau. Both the Orcs and Tyranid favor devastating close-quarters combat, while eschewing ranged combat. Tau culture. The broad role a Tau fulfills in their society is dictated by the caste to which they are born, and each caste is physically distinct from one another, to the point of being practically separate subspecies. The Tau of the Fire caste are the warriors of Tau society, and the most massive and physically powerful of the Tau, generations of breeding having weeded out infirmity. Tau of the Earth caste have the most numerous population of all the castes, most being physically sturdy labourers who staff farms, factories and construction crews, and the brightest minds go on to be engineers and doctors. Tau of the Water caste are the civil servants, merchants, administrators, bureaucrats and diplomats of Tau society, flowing among both the other castes and other allied species, and ensuring that all have what they need to optimally serve the greater good. They display an easy affinity for languages, and adopt many forms of communications with exceptional nuance across their careers. Tau of the Air caste are sometimes known as the Invisible caste, because they spend most of their time aboard the spacecraft that make up the Tau Navy. Generations of exposure to microgravity leaves them with a hollow bones and a tolerance for high acceleration, though their frailty means that they are sluggish and weak in even moderate gravity environments. Finally, Tau of the Ethereal caste are the spiritual and political leaders of the Tau, and Tau of other castes submit to their authority in all things. Should an Ethereal order a Tau of the different caste to kill themselves, they would obey without hesitation. The Tau are the most open and tolerant of the races in the galaxy, which means that they prefer not to destroy other races on sight, and are nowhere near xenophobic as the Imperium of Man. They are appreciative of the ways of the humans, Eldar and other sentient races, but hold their own values as superior above all others. All Tau in all castes have a particular rank in their society, with each individual starting at the lowest and being eventually promoted on merit. However, the Tau attach no stigma to low rank, and even the most menial Tau enjoys the respect of their peers. Tau names are generally seen in the Imperium as long, complicated and unwieldy, but they can be broken down into the following: caste and rank within that caste, sept of birth, personal name, which is often determined by their notable actions or achievements. Using a Tau's full name is considered a very formal form of address, while using only their personal name is considered overly familiar unless one is bonded to them via the Ta Lysera. Using a Tau's caste and rank to refer to them is considered a polite form of address, as it acknowledges their role in the greater good. The caste names are Aun, A-U-N, for ethereal, Por, P-O-R, for water, Shas, S-H-A-S, for fire, Fio, F-I-O, earth, Kor, K-O-R, for air. The Tau are generally shorter than humans, smaller in stature, and with less muscle mass and body weight. Every Tau is humanoid in shape, with 2 arms, 2 cloven feet, and a single head. Their grey-blue skin is leathery and tough and exudes no moisture, owing to the general dry conditions of their homeworld. Their faces are flat, wide around the eyes, and their olfactory organs are located inside their mouths. Their eyes can see into the infrared and ultraviolet. Tau eyesight is good, but they focus on distant objects slower than humans. The Tau are not very good in close combat, as they find the whole concept uncivilized. The Tau has 3 digits and a single opposable thumb on each hand. The main difference from humans is the bone structure of Tau's lower legs, feet and ankles. Tau have short bones of the labia and fibia, but their feet have elongated cuneiform bones and talus, and 2 large central weight-bearing toes. The Tau have evolved to stand and move without using their heels. The colour of a Tau's skin often depends on his caste, as well as which sept he calls home. In general, it can be said that the air caste have the palest pigment, while fire caste tend to be the darker. The darker the Tau's bluish-grey skin, the closer to the sun he lives. Therefore, those living on Viola have much darker skin than those from Borkan. Also, it is known that some strange quality in the green-tinged sun of the Nadras sept can leave those from that region slightly mottled. It has also been suggested by several imperial observers that Tau blood is bluish-purple, explaining that the blood contains trace amounts of cobalt rather than iron, as common in humans. It is known that the lifespan of the Tau is short. Most Tau need only 1 to 2 Terran hours of sleep every rotation. The Tau have no psychers whatsoever among their ranks, for their souls are so feeble they barely register in the warp at all. They are largely oblivious to the malevolent forces of chaos, which in turn take no interest in the crumbs of the Tau souls. No Tau has ever been corrupted by chaos to date. Because they have no navigators, Tau ships cannot travel through the heart of the warp like Imperial ships do. Instead, they make shallow dives into the warp, a much slower form of travel, because they have no astropaths. The Tau are reliant on messenger ships to communicate across the stars. These handicaps greatly slow the expansion of the Tau Empire. As well as the 5 castes of the Tau, multiple alien species are incorporated into the Empire. The most significant of these being the Kroot and Vespid, although many other races, including the spacefaring Nikasar and Demiurge mining fleets, are members. In addition, human auxiliaries, Gevasa in the Tau language, are sometimes seen to be aiding the Tau as well. The Tau Empire's practice of tolerating and incorporating other races stands in stark contrast with essentially all other major races in the galaxy, which exterminate other races completely rather than conquer and subjugate them, although this could be offset by some issues with the Eldar, depending on the craft world. Reports vary on the exact conditions of the alien races working for the Tau themselves, ranging from that they are full allies within the Empire, to that they are mercenary armies hired out by the Tau to aid in the umbrella of protection the Tau military provides their regional space, to reports that these auxiliaries are glorified slaves. Still, the fact that the Tau want to coexist with other races on any level, even if they are subjugated, makes them far more tolerant than other races, particularly the xenophobic Imperium of Man. Most reports generally indicate that the human auxiliaries serving the Tau Empire are relatively well treated, with many serving the Tau voluntarily. As the only significant human population in the galaxy which is not part of the Imperium, this has led to a great deal of both embarrassment and general bewilderment in Imperial officials, who have difficulty comprehending that many planet-sized populations of humans would truly rather side with the Tau than the brutal and harsh Imperium. Refusing to believe that the Gevasa were willingly won over to the Tau Empire through what was honestly better treatment than they had under the Imperium, many Imperial officials continue to insist that other races must only serve under the Tau due to some form of mind control. Thus, in contrast to the forces of the Imperium, a Tau army encountered on the battlefield may feature a wide menagerie of different alien races working together for the greater good. Kroot. Close combat troops hailing from the jungle world of Pesh. The Kroot possess avian ancestry and beaks, but have evolved to appear closer to featherless reptiles. Guided by Shapers, Kroot are capable of drastically altering their genome by eating dead enemies and absorbing specific genes to adapt to new combat niches. They do also work outside the greater good as mercenaries quite frequently. Vespids. Flying wasp-like humanoids from the gas giant of the same name, Vespid, used as a highly maneuverable rapid strike force, covered in a chitinous exoskeleton evolved to protect them from the harsh atmosphere of their home planet, called Malkor in the Tau language, literally air insects. The Imperial Guard have dubbed them Stingwings, though this technically only refers to their soldiers, not the entire race. Humans, known as the Gevasa, literally human auxiliaries. In the Tau lexicon, they fulfill a tactical niche between the close combat Kroot and the long-range Tau fire warriors, in that they are capable of using some advanced Tau weaponry, but are slightly better at close combat than the Tau. Human auxiliaries are not yet as numerous in the Tau military as the Kroot or even the Vespid, but are being incorporated in increasing numbers. Demiurge. Did somebody say squats? No, sorry. Demiurge. Avid miners and expert traders who possess technology that is actually somewhat more advanced than that possessed by the Imperium of Man. It was actually the Demiurge who provided the Tau with ion cannon technology, which then became the mainstay armament used by the Tau ground forces, such as fire teams. The Demiurge are an entirely spaceborne race, which either lost or abandoned its homeworld, spreading out through the stars to mine new resources and trade. Are we sure that these aren't actually squats? They helped form a major component of the Tau Empire's interstellar economy. They are shorter than humans and have a sturdy build. Are we certain? The Demiurge are defensively hostile, but not aggressively militaristic, preferring to flee from stronger enemies and seek better trading opportunities elsewhere. Now that doesn't sound very squatty. As a result, they have generally avoided entering Imperial territory, unless they are invited in, and are thus rarely encountered by the Imperium of Man. This also means that they possess no starships designed for military purposes, and their preference for flight over fight means that they do not use ground units. However, being equipped with advanced Demiurge technology such as powerful cutting lasers used for asteroid mining, even the humble mining ships of the Demiurge, such as the Bastion class and massive Stronghold class, are capable of successfully engaging Tyranid hive ships head-on. Gulgs. Green, frog-like aliens used as mercenaries. Sounds like slang. Hyrenian. Mercenaries specialized in light infantry. Gyatrix. Voidfarers, skilled at space travel. Moralian. Mercenaries. Nikasar. The first alien race incorporated into the Tau Empire, completely spaceborne, insatiably curious. They explore and scout star systems for the Tau. Even in space they have poor offensive and defensive capabilities, nor do they possess any advanced economic infrastructure, because they hibernate whenever they are not actively exploring. They are also highly psychic, though the Tau tried to keep this fact from the Imperium of Man. Taurelians, reptilian dog-like aliens used as mercenaries. They possess a deep hatred of humans due to the severe losses their homeworlds have taken from Imperial campaigns. Charpactin, sentient fungoid alien race who became a client state of the Tau Empire during the Fifth Sphere expansion after their natural ability to enthrall living beings was observed by the Water Caste. Boktroon, species that joined the Empire during the First Sphere expansion, but was largely and tragically wiped out by a virus. Their homeworld was inherited by the Tau, who transformed it into the Borkan Sept. Nagai, highly intelligent, worm-like creatures that are capable of mind control from the world of Shagalud, once enemies of the Tau who fought a series of wars against the Nagai. They have since made peace with and joined the Empire, where they serve as advisors to the ethereal caste. While not fully aware of its true nature, the Nagai know of the warp, which they call extra-dimensional space. Anthrazods, a race regarded by the Tau as sturdy, if dim-witted. They have proven well-suited to asteroid mining. Rangon, a minor race that has been successfully assimilated by the Tau Empire. Gnosh, a race that is used for hauling cargo. Yabi Yabi, a space-bound race with little information that the Imperium presently has on record. Bashura, a tiny dexterous-limbed crustacean race from the planet of the same name. They are unmatched in the delicate assembly of small plasma generators needed to power Earth-caste inventions. Greet, race native to the ocean planet of Islasu, joined the Empire after a successful negotiation by Water-caste diplomat Por or Dalith Kais Tui Lu Itan, who is also known as the Golden Ambassador. Formosian, a race that has joined the Empire. Little Imperial records exist on this race. Thraxians, chitin-covered, multi-armed species that was assimilated into the Empire during the First Sphere expansion. The Thraxian race is also noted to have migrated into Imperial territory before they joined the Empire, which is odd, as official first contact with the Tau and the Imperium occurred during the Second Sphere expansion. The Tau are very much a ranged combat-orientated army. A common tactic is to engage the enemy at the maximum range of their weapons, which typically have a longer range and greater firepower than the equivalent weapons of other armies. Tau usually try to take out the strongest weapons of the enemy as well as keeping enemy troops from reaching the Tau lines, as most Tau units are weak in close combat. A more prevalent tactic amongst Tau veterans is the Mektar approach, which utilizes the inherent mobility and speed of Tau vehicles and battlesuits to confuse and overwhelm the enemy by engaging them at all levels of the battlefield. The Tau army is highly specialized, with each element normally having a specific task in support of the rest of the force. Fire warrior teams make up the line troops, while forward scouts, known as pathfinders, scout enemy positions and provide fire support with rail rifles and marker light target designators. The Tau also deploy broadside battlesuits and crisis battlesuits in supporting roles, providing specialized weapons to deal with any hotspots on the battlefield, or providing heavy anti-tank fire. Stealth suit teams operate independently of the main force, unleashing devastating fire from hidden positions. The Tau also make extensive use of small AI-controlled drones, typically equipped with guns or force fields. Drones can be used to protect teams of fire warriors and battlesuits or support tanks, and can even be grouped into independent squadrons. Tau ground warfare is carried out almost exclusively by the Fire Caste, while the Air Caste is responsible for aerial and space combat, and providing transport between systems. The basic Fire Caste military unit is known as the Cadre, or Kaui, similar in size to the role of an Imperial Guard company, and is primarily made up of Tau from the same sept. The most commonly fielded Cadre is a combined arms formation, made up of multiple teams, or La Rua, though more specialized cadres exist, such as a battlesuit retaliation cadre and a pathfinder infiltration cadre. 3 to 6 cadres will often fight together as part of a contingent, or TOV, similar to an Imperial Guard regiment, and commanded by the most senior cadre commander. 3 to 6 contingents may be grouped into a battle, also known as a commune or cavale. Though this is only a temporary formation, all fire caste forces in a given location, whether a planet or star system, is grouped into a command, under the leadership of a high commander, with the 4 commands, or uasho, fire, earth, water and air, grouped into a coalition, chanal, under the command of the local ethereals. The Tau prefer to meticulously plan their assaults, and tend to fight only after carefully coordinating all available troops. They also prefer to fight offensively, concerned more with the destruction of the enemy than the taking and holding of ground. The Tau believe the territory is much easier to hold when all enemies are dead. Instead of trying to defend a base or city, the Tau would rather dismantle all of the important technology, evacuate, and come back to defeat the occupying force at a later time, when their army is sufficient for the task. The 2 primary Tau tactics, known as meta-strategies, are the Mont-Ka, killing blow of the perfect strike, and Kauyon, patient hunter, the art of patience and ambush. The Mont-Ka is a carefully planned attack designed to wipe out critical enemy defenses or units in single, well-placed strikes. Once the strongest points of enemy resistance are crushed, the remainder of the force can generally be finished off more easily. Pathfinder teams or Ghost Keels make the final decision to launch a Mont-Ka. After the beginning of the Mont-Ka, the enemy must receive massive damage, or else the Tau forces will be called back. A commander will withdraw to strike from another side rather than waste lives of the warriors. The Kauyon is essentially an ambush, where the enemy is drawn by use of a lure into a carefully prepared killing zone. The lure can literally be anything, from the allied squad to the vital objective. The force of the patient hunter deployed in such a way that they can attack the enemy using all suitable advantages. True experts of this tactic may compose so many levels of plans within plans that the enemy realize that all of his actions have been predicted and managed by the Tau, only at the annihilating end of its battle. Aside from these 2 principles, the Tau also make use of other meta-strategies, including the Rinyon, Circle of Blades, basically envelopment, and the Rip-Ika, the 1,000 Daggers, the tactic of cumulative strikes. The Tau have a formidable standing army, but also make use of auxiliary units, including the Kroot, Gevasa auxiliaries, and Vespid, sometimes using them as the lure in the Kauyon attack method. The Space Fleet. The Tau Space Fleet is known as the Korvatra, and is crewed by the Tau of the Air Caste. Since the earliest days of the first sphere of expansion, the Korvatra was given high priority by the Ethereals, and their spacefaring technology advanced at a rapid pace, increasing their reach substantially in the span of a few centuries. The Korvatra suffered tremendous losses to the Imperial fleet during the Damocles Crusade, and their defeat of the Hydas system being particularly noteworthy. Compounding the weaknesses were exploring tendrils of the Tyranid hive fleets, encroaching on Tau space. Following this, the Ethereals directed the very best Earth-caste scientists were given whatever resources they needed to modernize and expand the Korvatra in a program titled the Kor Orvesh. It is believed that the Tau's aggressive territorial expansion and the need to upgrade has placed great pressure on the Korvatra. End quote. I often hear a lot of vitriol being heaped at the door of this faction, which does bemuse me, but then I am relatively harmless most of the time. I hear clarion calls of, "They aren't grimdark enough." Well, I would like people to take perhaps another view of the situation. Firstly, I cannot think of anything more grimdark than the Tau Empire, but stay with me on this one. Imagine what actually being in the Tau Empire would be like. Wonderful, lovely, equality and plenty for all, right? Far too noble bright for Warhammer, but that ignores the shadow that covers them every day in every way. Imagine you are only 4'5", maybe 5 foot tall, and not particularly loud, aggressive, or well armed. Then imagine you have a set of very dangerous neighbors. On one side you have a house which is frequented by up to 100 people each day and night. They hurl refuse into your yard, and if they see you, or even see your lights are on, they chant at you that they are coming to kill you. They will knock down the door and annihilate everyone in the house and then set it alight. They are only waiting until their turf wars have ended before they do this. Sound noble, Bright? Well, this is the Imperium. What about that frat house that has a congregation of literally hundreds of drunks who regularly try to get into the house and are burning poo through the door, at the least? And more often than not, it is bricks. They are never ending and a constant pest. But they are drinking more and more each night, and their pranks are getting more and more likely to kill everyone in your house if they continue to do so without stopping. The orcs. The Tau have orcs aplenty everywhere around them. Previously, they would be easily outmaneuvered and fended off, but things are changing, and the Prophet of Gork and Mork is trying to get the orcs to act more cunning, as they call it, every second. The orcs are moving in a way that has not been seen since the rise of the beast. What chance does the Tau have if a proper full-scale war, led by a boss as cunning as he is brutal? It may well be the most horrific war the Tau have yet faced, and it is all coming very soon indeed. On the other side, you have a group of immortals who are entirely metallic, hate everything living, and each day they look at your house and say, "We will have that one day. We are just waiting for our relatives to arrive. Then you and everyone in your house is dead. When our relatives arrive, as they are presently having a nap, you are dead. When you walk past their house, they have all sorts of ancient weaponry on their walls, ancient but no less deadly when deployed." These are the Necrons, who are coming out of their sleep and only now really moving to expand their holdings after an extended period of consolidation. They are ageless, lethal, and all but immortal, and invulnerable to most things. Still not enough? Well, you also have that last neighbour at the end of the cul-de-sac, the one who has 50 very hungry wolves that he claims are just dogs, but you notice that he does not feed them often. He keeps looking at you and preparing to open the door to these overgrown, abused, and deeply hungry canines every time you pass his house on the way to work. Any time he opens that door, you are dead. You'll be ripped to pieces by his attack dogs in seconds. Worse still, every day 5 more canines are dropped off to him. When you notice that he is actually putting your clothes amongst the meagre food he does not give them very often. Hence, they will eat you at the drop of a hat if permitted. These are the Tyranids, whose 5 fleets are arriving in larger and larger numbers each year. So to be a member of the Tau Empire is to be surrounded by rapacious, massive, warlike entities who want nothing more than to tear you to pieces, sometimes not even for land or resources, but simply because you exist. Still thinking that the Tau Empire is noble, bright, and not in keeping with the setting? If that is not enough, then please do allow me my second foray into a defense. Without contrast there is no shadow, so the Tau may seem all lovely, etc., but is that not even worse? They are the exception that proves the rule. They are the hope that will be inexorably crushed by either Necron, Tyranid, or Imperium the moment they get round to it. I think they are a wonderful little faction. As a bit of a fan of mecha anime, I can state that I do like their sleek lines and the overall aesthetic as well. As a strong gun line, they work. But they have massive weaknesses, and one can almost see it as a race to get to them before their lines crumble under close combat pressure. In the Tau, I think there is a mix of elements that make them shine. They have a truly sci-fi look that many like. Their organisation and gunline harken back to the Napoleonic age of warfare, bar their inability to fix bayonets and charge, of course. All they need to do is hold the line and fire 3 shots a minute until the French column evaporates. Sorry. All they need to do is hold out. They are the cosmic little kid trying to make his way into a playground filled with some of the most hardened criminals and murderers in the history of the galaxy. Games Workshop seem to have bowed to pressure, is what some have said, in making the Tau have more of a potential dark side. There is now the insinuation that all is not as rosy, and as much of a consensual love-in as was previously believed. with the clue that the ethereals are somehow employing mind control over the vast majority of the willing Tau allies, and hint that they are actually wiping out races when they have served their purposes, being only some. I like to think of the Tau as another continuation of the cycle, the wheel that turns again and again in the grim darkness of the future. For is there much difference between the Tau as they are now and the Imperium as it started? Yes, people will state that the Imperium was xenophobic, but they are missing things. Humanity had been whipped like a cur for millennia when the Emperor arose, but at that time he did consider taking some races into the Imperium as protectorates if they were not chaos-tainted or a threat to the human race. The Imperial truth brought technological innovation, and is not utterly dissimilar to the greater good when you boil it all down. Horus, the War Master, always stated that the Imperium should leave a world better off than when they found it. Is it so different? Also, in my mind, the Emperor would see no potential for warp tainting, no real danger from the Tau philosophy, and would have been a happy ally of this young race. Alas, the Imperium is now a thrashed dog again that snaps and bites at all around it out of fear. This, more than anything else, the degeneration of humanity into ignorance, superstition, and hate, is what the Emperor attempted to avert. But, alas, the wheel turns, as I said. We are seeing exactly the same slide from grace to aggression in the Tau. But we shall deal with this in my second entry on the Tau, dragging the lore into the present, after I have received those resources I require. The newest book in the Psychic Awakening, The Greater Good, goes on further, but we will be able to discuss that very soon, as I will be performing an entry for that leg of the Awakening within the week. The Psychic Awakening will be coming to the channel, and there will be plenty more of this faction, as their war gear and tactics are actually quite entrancing. If you do not like the Tau, consider it intercepting enemy transmissions that only you are privy to, in readiness to give them a sound thrashing on the tabletop the next time you face them. All I can say at this point is, if you do not like your balloons blue, you like them green or yellow or red, then let others enjoy their shiny blue balloon and simply not worry about it. At the end of the day, we are all trying to enjoy a hobby. Take what you want out of it and ignore the rest. That someone else enjoys their balloons being blue does not detract from the gloss or sheen of your balloon in any way whatsoever. Our forces do and should want all others wiped out. This is as it should be because Warhammer is a game of conflict and battles. Our forces should despise each other to permit as many diverse matchups and drama as possible. I am all in for a good-natured ribbing, what we in Blighty used to call a bit of a sledging. But let's leave the anger and the hatred and the derision in the lore and on the battlefield. Just remember that the person across from you is also trying to relax. It doesn't matter the colour of their balloon. You are more alike than you will ever be different, and you enjoy something special. Warhammer. Be kind. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. If you have enjoyed my brief introduction to the Tau, then please do consider liking and subscribing. If you are a regular gentle listener and see the worth in what we are doing, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Oh, yes, I really should explain. I didn't want to do the narrative between the Imperial Guard and the Tau in this video. That will be Wednesday. I hope it to be, well, entertaining. You have all voted, and I have listened. I have read the comments, and I'm preparing my brief. I hope it will be good. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.